Hello ACDC Econ. Today we're going to learn about foreign exchange.
So, what is foreign exchange? Well, in macroeconomics, it is defined as a way to describe exchange values of certain currencies, and it can also describe the inflow and outflow of money.
Money travels around us all the time. We often see money being exchanged from country to country. Say you and your family go on vacation to London. If you want to buy a miniature version of Big Ben, you'll need to exchange your US dollars for pounds. This purchase demonstrates the movement of money throughout the world. In addition, these purchases, as well as other factors, cause the value of different currencies to shift. Outsourcing labor, foreign imports, as well as foreign exports also depict the movement of money throughout our world.
Now that we know how money moves, let's look at some key terms for Forex. Exports are any goods and services that go out of the country. Imports are any goods and services that go into the country. Now, net exports are basically the difference between exports and imports. If our net exports are negative, meaning that we have more imports, that means we have a trade deficit, meaning that more money is leaving our country. However, if our net exports are positive, that means we have more exports and our trade is in a surplus, meaning more money is coming into our country.
Next, we are looking at the difference between appreciation and depreciation. Appreciation occurs when the exchange rate of that currency increases, and appreciation tends to cause lower inflation because import prices are cheaper, and then the cost of imported goods and raw materials will fall after an appreciation. Next, we have depreciation, and when depreciation of a currency occurs, the exchange rate of that currency decreases, and the depreciation of a currency tends to increase a country's balance of trade by improving the competitiveness of domestic goods in foreign markets while making foreign goods less competitive in the domestic market by becoming more expensive.
When drawing a foreign exchange graph, first label your axes. Your y-axis will be labeled with the exchange rate written as currency 1 divided by currency 2. Then you will label your x-axis as the quantity of the currency you are looking for, which should be the same currency labeled as currency 2 on your y-axis. Your supply and demand curves will be denoted as S and D, and then followed by a number to depict which supply or demand curve occurred first. The intersection of these lines will be labeled as ER on the y-axis, followed by a number to denote the order, and will be labeled as Q, followed by a number on the x-axis. You should then use arrows to depict whether your curve is shifting left or right.
But, as always, there is an evil twin. Because foreign exchange is being conducted between two countries, we have to account for this with two Forex graphs. For example, in trade between the US and Mexico, on the left you can see the Forex graph for the US because of the dollar on the x-axis. And there is a demand of dollars by Mexico, while we supply the dollar. While on the right side is the Forex graph for Mexico because of the peso on the x-axis. As you can see, there's a demand of peso by us, the US, and there's supply of the peso by Mexico.
Next, we're going to talk about the shifters of foreign exchange. The first one being tastes and preferences. This one comes down to one simple thing. If you like a nation's product, you're going to buy it. If you don't, you're not going to buy it. This will affect the appreciation and depreciation of a nation's currency. The next shifter is income. Pretty much, if the more money someone makes, the more spending they're going to do. The third shifter is the relative price levels. If a product gets expensive in another nation, then the price is going to increase. The last shifter is going to be relative interest rates, and these are simply just the profitable bonds someone can make.
So now, let's look at some examples.
In example 1, we are given that the price level of traded goods has increased in Mexico and are asked how the peso will be affected in relation to the dollar due to this increase in price. As depicted by the graph, the demand for the peso will decrease due to the decrease in demand for Mexican products. This decrease in demand is caused by the increased price level in these products, which will make countries less likely to purchase these products as they can get them cheaper elsewhere. This decreased demand for the peso will cause the exchange rate to decrease and therefore will depreciate the value of the peso.
But what about the dollar? Well, in this case, since Mexican price levels increase, we demand less Mexican products and therefore we demand less pesos. So since we don't demand as much pesos, we supply less dollars to Mexico. And our dollar eventually appreciates. All right, I'm getting tired of Mexico. So let's move on into a new scenario. In this one, confidence in the US banking system encourages more savings accounts to open relative to those in Japan. So how is the dollar affected? Well, since more people open savings accounts, on the loanable funds market, the supply of loanable funds increase, which decreases real interest rates. And since our interest rates decrease, the demand for US bonds from outsiders decrease, and therefore they will not buy as much bonds and demand less dollars, so overall, the dollar depreciates.
Our last example is, in the United States, confidence in the banking system encourages more savings accounts to open relative to Japan. How is the yen affected? Well, due to this, the supply of yen is going to decrease, which is going to increase the United States supply of loanable funds. It's going to decrease the US real interest rates. It is going to also decrease the demand for US bonds, as well as demand for US dollars. And the supply of yen is going to decrease, and it's going to appreciate.
But what if two countries don't like each other?
Trade barriers are government-imposed restrictions placed on foreign trade to help protect domestic industries or punish foreign industries. The three main trade barriers utilized by the government are tariffs, quotas, and embargoes. Tariffs are a tax on imported goods. Quotas are a limit on the number of products that can come into a country, and embargoes cut off trade to a country because of political reasons.
And that concludes foreign exchange.